biggest issues plaguing modern men is that the vast majority of them lack a tribe of other virtuous, trustworthy, masculine men who gather for the sole purpose of improving themselves and their lives on a daily basis. Most men simply float through space, working a dead-end job, only to go home to a nagging wife or girlfriend that doesn't respect them. Their friend circles are nothing but fat, low testosterone losers who are more concerned with what sports teams are playing this weekend and what bar they're going to watch the game at. If these men are lucky enough to unplug from the comforting lies that modern society sells them and decide they want more out of life, they look around and realize they need to get into a better room. That's where a private community of men chasing excellence comes in. Men in our community have all committed to being the best versions of themselves that they can possibly be. They willingly run toward challenges, knowing that pushing themselves out of their comfort zones is the key to unlocking their true potential as men. If you're ready to take control of your life back and curate a network of successful and knowledgeable men, now is the time to seize the opportunity.
Hey, welcome everyone to another ladies' night. Today is just going to be me and Rich hosting. Moth is traveling, so Rich is back.
I'm filling in.
Filling in, yeah, on his own channel.
Yeah.
Anyways, before we get into intros, ladies, I just want to get a real quick thumbs up or thumbs down if you are in support of that intro video that we just watched. Thumbs up or thumbs down? Go.
2 thumbs up, 1 thumbs up. Oh, So by Gypsy Queen.
On
Okay.
the edge. Cool. Awesome
Interesting.
about that. These fireworks. Every time Apple iPhones or Macs, they're always throwing out these fireworks or whatnot in these videos. Anyway, so yeah, Monique will start off intro. Age, where you're from, what you do, and relationship status.
Hello, my name is Monique. I am 36. I'm in Austin, Texas. I'm a registered nurse, nurse practitioner, student, fitness model, former wrestler, artist. I'm engaged.
And how long have you known the guy you're engaged to?
A year.
A year. You've been married? Cool.
Yeah.
And Miranda.
Hi, I'm Miranda. I am a functional health coach. I'm a holistic health practitioner, NASM certified personal trainer, former Marine, and I'm 30 years old and currently in a relationship. And I am originally from Ohio, but I'm based in Vegas right now.
Cool. How long have you been dating the guy you're with right now?
2 years, and I've known
2
him
years.
for 3.
Cool. And Alina, wrap us up.
Hi, my name's Alina. I reside in Las Vegas, Nevada. I am an adult entertainer, model, and I'm single.
Age?
Oh yeah, I was going to talk about that, but 31.
Okay, cool. And you said you are on the fence about the video. You're not sure. What do you like about it, or what do you dislike about it?
It just seems a bit. It just seems kind of cringy, or like,
Tacky?
yeah, a little like over exaggerated.
What about it was over exaggerated?
It just like the macho-ness of it. I don't really get it as a lady.
You know, like
I
Macho Men?
yeah, like
You,
most men just sit around and watch TV.
you like softer guys, like soy boys and stuff?
Pardon?
You like softer guys, like more of a soy boy type of guy, like a vegan?
No.
Oh, so you like masculine men.
Yeah.
You just don't like masculine men that look like that in videos.
I
I'm not
was
sure. It
What's
was
that?
just
I didn't think everyone in the video looked that masculine. Just being-
Okay.
I think
Can
the
you explain
former
that?
Marine can agree with me. I don't know. I thought it was a nice video, actually. I liked it. I didn't think it was too macho. I just think it was just a few regular guys doing some guy stuff. That's just
Yeah.
me.
I mean, guys are supposed to do guy stuff, aren't they?
I think what she's saying is the idea is nice, but like the way that they had the intense music and all of that stuff just came off a little corny. I think, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Like the advertisement itself was a little bit like, be a man, like all this, I don't know. I thought it was a little cheesy too, but like I understand like the point of it all, and I think it's a good thing. You know, it's just the ad itself a little cheesy.
Go ahead, Spence.
Yeah, it was an advertisement, basically.
Yeah, it was an advertisement. It felt like a Marine Corps advertisement, actually.
I think
All
you
right.
guys need to
Sorry,
cut
it's
some
like,
scenes
yeah,
in there of like you guys like chopping wood or something. That would make it
Oh,
more
okay.
masculine, like some wood chopping or like some axe throwing, maybe. That's just a suggestion.
Oh, okay. So we'll get that in the next session that we're doing in a couple weeks. We'll make sure the video editor includes some tree chopping down and some axe. What about bears? Should we be throwing
Maybe
axes
throw
at
a bear.
bears?
I was gonna say
Yeah,
if you want a
wrestling the
bear,
bears.
or train the bear.
What about like wrestling a bear then? Yeah, like on Spencer's suggestion. Would that work?
only if Spencer dresses up as the bear, and I want like loads of fake blood.
Oh, okay. So now we're talking Hollywood then. Now we're getting into the
Canadian
full
grizzly,
production.
Canadian grizzly bears. Everyone knows are like the biggest bears.
Yeah.
It's not
Okay,
a bear.
cool.
It's just a guy with a big hairy chest. That's all it is.
Same thing.
Well, we'll figure that out then. There was some contentious topics for tonight's show. What do we got to start with, Spencer?
Yeah. So we talked backstage briefly, and
Mhm.
Alina, you had a really good point to talk about. You said a couple things. First off, that you are in favor of the traditional nuclear family. You think that's really good for society. And then you threw a caveat on that, and you said that you don't think that lifelong monogamy is realistic. You want to explain more about that?
So, I think monogamy serves its purpose when it's supporting the traditional nuclear family structure.
Okay.
But outside of that, say once like your children are grown, there's not as much need for it, or there's
Okay.
not need.
So while you're having kids, raising the kids, you think it's beneficial. But once the kids are grown, moved out of the house, screw monogamy?
Well, it's a personal choice, but I think at that point it has served its purpose.
So
Okay.
when you say monogamy, are you blending commitment and sexual exclusivity, or are they separate?
It depends. It depends on the agreement between the partners. But I would say in general, it's probably healthier for the upbringing of like the nuclear family to witness the parents participating in strict monogamy or exclusive, not being swingers.
Not being swingers. Okay, so being committed and sexually exclusive. Okay, all right. And then why would you turn that off when the kids are grown up, or if there's no kids in the picture?
Well, if there's no children in the picture, then it's like kind of obsolete. But it served its purpose.
Interesting. So maybe a question for Monique then, because I think you said you were the one that was engaged, about 1 year engagement.
Mm-hmm.
What's your take on the topic of monogamy as Elena was describing it?
I think I understand what she's trying to, the message that she's trying to convey. There are a lot of statistics that support that. Um, I feel that it's not so much that, it's monogamy that people, I think, have a problem with. It's growing old with someone and growing parallel and growing in the same direction. Um, in the nuclear family, a lot of people, a lot of couples stay together because they had kids. Now, did they cause more harm to their kids because they stayed together when they shouldn't have, or vice versa? There are statistics that go like both ways. I feel that as long as, I don't, monogamy is a choice, marriage is a choice. There's nowhere in the law that it says you have to be monogamous, you have to get married. But I feel like when you make that commitment to someone, it's forever. And if you don't plan on being monogamous after your kids go to college, don't get fucking married. But people stay together for the wrong reasons, hence having children. It's not a reason to stay in an unhealthy relationship. You see a lot of couples breaking up once they have that empty nest. And I think that's what she's trying to say.
All right. Interesting. Monique. Or sorry, Miranda.
Yes.
What's your take on all that?
Um,
As a health coach, former Marine, Vegas gal.
I've had my experiences, with monogamy and non-monogamy, and I think just at the point where I'm at in my relationships, I just have had enough experiences where I just think that having a really deep connection with my one partner is enough for me. It's fully satisfying. Like there's so many things that we've gone through, and I just have such a strong appreciation for him, and I just don't want to ever like interrupt that bond that we have. And he's a little bit more of like a sensitive individual where like he feels more, and is more like sensitive to like, things like that. Cause he's very strongly monogamous where like I really wasn't before, but I went through, some inner childhood work, and I realized that that wasn't really like what I wanted. Like all of that other stuff that I was doing was just me acting out the like childhood wounds that I had. It was like a lot of unconscious impulsivity that I was having. And I just, yeah, I mean, like I could see for some, like if that's how she wants to operate within her relationship, like no judgment. Some people can pull it off, but I think if you really took the time to heal all of your childhood shit and you really did love that person, there would be no need to bring in other people. It would feel weird. It wouldn't feel like there's anything additional to the relationship unless you're just like a hypersexual person and that's something that you really, get off on. That's your personal preference. But like
Yeah.
for me, I've just learned that all of the things that I wanted to be non-monogamous wise it was just me acting out some stuff that I wasn't really aware of.
What kind of problems did you run into when you were non-monogamous in your prior relationships?
Well, do I really want to get into this?
Open that can, girl.
Oh my God, we're diving in. It just breaks the connection, right? So like I think when you start to dabble into those types of situations, it opens the door to want more and more and more different kinds of experiences. And you just kind of get to a point where you're not really super honest with the other person. And then you start hiding all of these things. And for me personally, like I recently learned how much of a people pleaser I was and how I was operating within friendships, relationships was just not healthy. And I was doing a lot of things in order to appease everybody and at the cost of my own comfort and the wants and desires that I had. I was like maintaining all of this crap that didn't need to be maintained, and I should have just spoken up for myself, in that moment. But there's a lot of things that I had to kind of like grow from and take a hard look at the actions that I was taking, and kind of taking a step back and like, okay, I can't really point the finger at my partner for, you know, doing the things that he did, because we're both kind of acting out our past stuff from being a child, because we both had a lot of toxic things going on with our parents that made us, you know, do that. But yeah, I'm going off on a tangent now.
Do you think that men and women should operate under the exact same model in a relationship?
What do you mean model? Like as in like working?
Like, is it possible for one in the relationship to be monogamous and the other to be committed and not sexually monogamous?
Yeah, so like for instance, like the woman wouldn't sleep with any other men, but like the men can have sex with other women kind of thing. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, like, is that possible? Does that model work? Is that anything that you've
No, I
experienced?
think no, I think at the end of it, it could maybe, but like the chances of that would be very slim, because at the end of the day, we all want to be chosen, right? And when we feel like we're not chosen by the person that we love the most and that means the most to us, that ends up taking a part of us, you
Mhm.
know? And it eventually wears you down, and then it eventually, you know, you build resentments, you start, you know, counting, you know, whatever, like, well, I did this for you, but you didn't do this for me. And then it just ends up,
Oh, the scorecard.
the
Mm.
scorecard, there you go. And it needs to be fair at the end of the day, you know, like if the man is going to sleep with other women, then I guess the woman should be able to sleep with other men. But in the end, I don't think many of those relationships end up working out.
Yeah, but I mean, are men and women the same? I guess is what it boils down to. Because I mean, you know, I always hear these arguments. Well, you know, if a man can do it, then a woman can do it too, or if a woman can do it, then a man can do it too. But are we really that similar?
Yeah.
No, I think we're fundamentally different. I think that our effort into the relationship should be the same, right? But it doesn't mean that my role is equivalent to yours. I was talking to my dude earlier about this. It's not like, when you look at it 50-50, is it really 50-50? Because the man is what they're bringing, the tangible things. They're providing the money, they're providing the house. The woman is providing the intangible. They're providing the home that you know, you give me the house, I give you the home. I give you that safety, I give you that grounding force. I give you that de-stressing when you come home from work. The meal's cooked when you get home. It's a balance, it's a give and take. It's not 50-50 as far as like what I bring to the table as in physical things. Like we both operate completely differently because our energies are fundamentally different.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Do the other ladies agree with all that, or do you have anything else?
First of all, I want to be the first one to say thank you for your services, by the way.
Thank you
You
for
are
my
a
service.
Marine, right? Were you a
Oh,
Marine?
yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for
Thank
serving
you.
our country. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Um, I think times have changed, and I think that's where we've seen a lot of problems with the infrastructure, right, of like the nuclear family, because there's a lot of confusion. It was, women want the right to vote, women want equal rights, we want Title IX. I was the only girl on an all boys varsity wrestling team in high school. I fought to have the same, for equality in sports. Now, when you look at tradition and you look at family, and even you take all that away, emotionally, mentally, biologically, men and women cannot be the same. Case in point, I'm a very, very highly sensitive, emotional individual. My fiance, he's very logical, very practical, very like dogmatic. He likes to think about things and fix things, and he's very, whereas I'm more reactive. So I think, men and women are very different in that way. I don't think that, I mean, I was a single mom for many years. I paid for my own house, my own car, paid my own bills. I never asked a dime for anybody. Their times are kind of different. Women are making the same as men. So it's not so much like, what can you do for me? What can you provide for me? But like, can you make me feel emotionally safe so that I can be in my feminine and let you be the man in the relationship? And kind of take that lead. I think that's kind of more the focus versus like finances and materialistic things.
How
I
did
mean,
you like wrestling in a all male league?
I
How'd you
hated
find
it.
yourself in that position to start out with, I guess?
You
So
you tried to you strive for that? Did you wanted to be? Was that
so
like
I
a
was,
challenge to you to get on that team?
it was. I was 13 at the time, and my dad had just passed away of cancer, and he was a wrestler. And the biggest reason I wanted to do it is because everyone told me that I couldn't and that I shouldn't. And I was 13. I was just sitting in the kitchen, and I asked my mom one night, I said, Mom, this is the type of kid that I was. I said, I'm really thinking about going out for the wrestling team. Like, do you think it would be okay? And she's like, no, absolutely not. My mom was like, you're going to do dance, you're going to do cheerleading. Like, you're not going to be a tomboy. And I said, well, that's too bad because I've been going to practices for 2 weeks now, and my first match is on Saturday. So I kind of did it, and I wrestled boys varsity for 2 years. I got a college scholarship to Menlo College my senior year of high school. At that time, there were only 6 collegiate female wrestling teams in the nation. Now I think there's like 120. So I was kind of one of the trailblazers at the time. It's one of the fastest growing sports right now, and I'm just so proud, because women are stronger these days. We're taking on more. We're going into the military. We're making money. We're getting educated. But at the end of the day, when we come home under our roof, the man has to be the man, and the woman has to be the woman. We take our hats off, we take our shoes off, and it's just a loving, safe space where women can be feminine and men can be masculine.
Would you let your daughter get into a men's wrestling league?
My daughter's 5 and she's been to multiple wrestling matches with me, and it's not something I would ever push her to unless she wanted to, but she's very much a brute and she's very tough. But her dad's a musician, so she very much loves singing and writing songs. If she wanted to wrestle boys, I mean, oh, that's a tough question. My mom did not like it, but I think if she could mentally handle it, I would let her do it. It's not a physical thing, it's a mental thing.
It's not a physical thing?
It's tough,
We're talking about the
obviously.
same kind of wrestling.
Like Greco-Roman wrestling?
Yeah, it's physical.
Yeah.
Physicality matters, right?
Well, obviously, physicality matters. Physicality matters if you're cooking, boiling an egg, or putting on a t-shirt. But it's more
Much
I
less
don't
a
think it
mental
degree,
matters
though.
if,
than it is. It's more mental than physical wrestling. And so is like,
Let me ask you this: what do you think of biological males competing in women's sports leagues? Like we saw during the Olympics, there was a biological male that beat the living hell out of a gal, and she threw in the towel. The I think it was in a billiards league recently. I mean, not such a physical sport, but the two finalists in the women's league were two biological males. They were transgender males. What do you think
yeah.
about men competing in women's sports at this stage of the world where we're at today?
I think it's fucking bullshit because they have their own fucking teams and they need to go on their own teams. I had to wrestle on a boys' team because I didn't have a girls' team. I got my ass
Mm.
beat. I was snotty nosed, blooding, puking, facing the fucking mat, and I had 12 brothers who said, "Get the fuck up and don't you stop." I didn't have a girls' team that I could go to and wrestle with, so I stayed. These men who were wanting to compete in women's sports are biologically not women. They need to go compete with men. If you want to wear a bikini when you swim, have at it. But at the end of the day, your testosterone levels and your estrogen levels are that of no, I do not support it. Now, let's say you're in some random rural town where there's like no men's team and you want to be a cheerleader. We have guys doing cheerleading and they, whatever. Like
you're not
all of
competing against each other in cheerleading though. You're not
Yeah.
gonna physically harm someone
Hey,
cheerleading.
there are some tiny guys who I've seen get thrown in the air and they're pretty good. But
But
yes,
it's not like wrestling where your objective is to take down the other person.
no, obviously they're different sports. What's your point?
But thing is like in wrestling, this is a much different. It's a bigger issue in something like wrestling, where if the men want to step into the women's teams and play in the women's division, and is that not more dangerous for the women?
Fuck yeah, it is. And it's also more dangerous for the women who I have to wrestle at the end of the year because I've been wrestling dudes all year. Like, I mean, there's just no comparison. Like, but the thing is like there have been men's wrestling teams since what, like 500 BC. Like it was the first sport in the Olympics. Like the Greeks invented, like Milo was the first
Yep.
wrestler. Like there have been men's wrestling's been around. You know, it's not an issue. Now, like if there's like a female specific sport that a man wants to join, I'm not against that if there's no men's teams per se. I
Okay,
guess
so there's some conditions. Yeah, I got you. I
Like
heard.
men and women are totally biologically different. Men are bigger than women. They're like stronger than women. Men can throw objects overhand better than women, and that's not just from like a society thing. That is evolution. It's in our biology. It's in your DNA. Men are bigger, stronger than women, and so yeah.
I did beat a guy in my weight class. Just gonna throw that in there.
that
Just
would have been
saying.
embarrassing.
We were the same weight.
Um,
And he dropped, oh my God, I hope he's not watching. Adam, I love you. I'm so sorry. But he quit wrestling.
You just out him too. Say his name.
We all know. I grew up in a small town. But yeah, he quit wrestling and joined the
everybody knows
military.
the guy that got beat by the girl.
No one knows his name. That's his nickname. The guy who got beat by the girl.
Yeah, poor
I
guy.
heard the
He was a
soundbite a
sweet
few
guy.
times from from the ladies as I was kind of doing their intros and sort of talking about some of these ideas. The notion that times have changed. Um, I guess the question I want to pose you all is: have times changed for the better or for the worst when it comes to relationships, dating, that sort of stuff?
The worst.
The worst?
Worst.
Who said that?
Monique.
Phyllis and Monique. Why have they changed for the worse?
Well, first of all, the internet destroyed everything. The entertainment industry,
How?
the entertainment industry, the modeling industry, art. I mean, do we love it? Do we need it? Do we thrive on it? Does it help us? Yes. But as far as like fundamentals go and like, just take online dating, for example. You
Okay.
know, everything is so much more accessible
Such as?
and people, you open your phone and there's, you swipe, you just find, and just because everything is so accessible because of the internet, I feel like there's less of a reason for people to commit. And I lived in Los Angeles for 11 years, so I've experienced this firsthand. You know, if you're in a relationship or if there's somebody that you really like, there's not really a really strong inclination to connect and to be vulnerable or to commit because there's so many other people at your fingertips just right around the corner and on your phone,
So you think
so
there's too many options?
it's not that there are too many options. I think that people are just too choosy. It's
When you say
that.
people, is it gender specific though? Is it men or is it women or is it
Nope.
both men and women
Nope.
are
I'm
just
gonna tell you
choosy?
something right now. When it comes, I don't care what you're talking about. Women are just as bad as men, and men are just as bad as women. It doesn't matter. I'm not being gender specific. It's
In
just
what sense
human
though?
nature.
In
Human
being
nature
choosy?
and being choosy, instant gratification. Because everything that you could accuse a man of doing in a relationship these days, women are doing. You know what I mean? The tradition is kind of out the window, so to say, I feel
If
like.
it if it's people are too choosy, do you think people's standards have gone up then? How has it gotten worse? If it's just you're too choosy, wouldn't being too choosy have been an issue before the internet and social media?
Okay, what's a good example? For example, and I've seen this in your shows and I've seen it in multiple videos. The what is it like the six figure, what is it called again? Like the guy's got a like six figures, six something.
Oh,
What is it?
Like six
that's
sixes?
actually a female trope.
Yeah. Well,
That's
I'm
actually
going to use
for
it
women.
as an
The six
example.
sixes, right? Six
I'm
foot
going to use
tall,
that
six
as an
figure income,
example.
600 horsepower car, six pack abs, 6 months out of the relationship. Yeah.
Well, let's just talk about that for a second. Women came up with
Mhm.
that. The average woman that uses that rule doesn't own her own car, lives in a studio apartment, and can't even boil an egg. So, yes, it's standards that are way too high, not within your realistic range because you think you have access, you get a little bit of attention, you have access to all these other people. People have a displaced concept of reality. So, I mean, I could go deep into this if you want, or I can just tell you that yes, things are different
Okay.
and people are more choosy, but they're not necessarily being choosy for the right reasons.
Okay, let's come back to that. So I want to hear from the other gals too. So, times have changed, but have they changed for the better or for the worse in your opinions?
Yeah, well, I'll piggyback off of what she was saying. I think she was saying that men are, or not men, but people are being more choosy in a way. Is the fact that they have this idea in the back of their head that like at any time there is a roster that they could have, you know what I mean? The people that are continuing to flirt with them or whatever, reaching out, liking their stuff, it feels as if there are unlimited options. So then when we enter a relationship and they end up becoming the mirror that they're meant to be, because that's literally the point of all of these relationships, is to see what we are not conscious of seeing within ourselves so that we can grow and become better and learn whatever lesson that we came here to learn. I think people are becoming more choosy because once that's reflected back to them, oh, nasty, I've got really bad toxic patterns that I don't really want to look at. I'm just going to leave you and find somebody else that's not going to do that. So I can be comfortable in my own crap. And that's why we have all of these people that get into these relationships and then get out and they're hopping into another one. And the dating scene is just horrific because there's all these unhealed people running around getting into relationships when they should never get into relationships. They should focus on the one that they were in, learn the lesson that they were supposed to learn from that relationship, and then maybe find that other person. Or maybe they just stay with that person that helped them grow. That's exactly what happened in my relationship. We were off and on for the duration of our 2 years, and we were extremely toxic to each other. But we sat down, looked at our own crap, and said, I don't want to be like this anymore. I don't like hurting people. I don't like being bad. So I'm going to do better. And it's bonded us so deeply and so beautifully that like I just see forever with this person because of that, and because we went through those trying times and we overcame it together.
Okay. And what about you, Elena, the Gypsy Queen?
Hey.
Hi.
I feel like we're viewing this more from the perspective of dating and marriage for love rather than the institution that it is initially intended for. And I think we're better off now, especially as women, because we have access to more choices. But I disagree with the fast food culture around dating. And
Fast food culture. It's all McDonald's.
yeah, like you're saying, it prevents people from actually doing the work or having any sort of like growth or self-development, introspective. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so let me phrase a question to you this way. I can produce a magic wand and wave it and solve these issues that exist within dating right now. What is the issue that you would want to see fixed? This is the question I want to ask all of you. So what is the main issue that you think should be fixed?
Accountability.
Vulnerability.
Accountability and
Yes, sir.
radical acceptance of just who you are and how you're acting. You know what I mean? And like taking a hard look at yourself and not stop pointing the finger, stop being a victim. We're all just, everybody just wants
Stop
to
being a
be
victim.
perpetual victim and blame everybody else for all of their problems. And oh my gosh, I just keep attracting these horrible men and not realizing that it's part of you that's attracting these horrible men. You know what I mean? Things that you, the boundaries that you're not setting, you know, the appeasing people and, you know, basically being self-sacrificial for people that don't even deserve it. Like, and it's just like you keep repeating the same pattern until you learn the lesson that you're meant to learn. You know,
Can you give me a specific example? Like, what do you mean accountability? Because I'm assuming that when you're answering the question, you're sort of looking at guys and past patterns and past behaviors of men. What is it specifically that you can use as an example when it comes to like accountability?
So accountability would be like, if I am coming to you and saying like, hey, this action hurt me, instead of you deflecting and saying, well, you did this and that's why I did this. No, take accountability for your part in the situation. You know what I mean? Take accountability and just take the hard look at yourself. Take a step back, zoom out a little bit. How are you acting?
Can we get that example though? Like a specific one?
A specific, okay, so like say my dude cheated on me and it was because before then I had texted somebody back that he told me not to text back. You know what I mean? Like he was
so it's like a retribution sort of thing. Like you did that, so I'm going to do this.
Yeah, like basically like making justifications for your actions instead of taking accountability for your actions.
Okay. Now, what if we were to own it and say, yeah, okay, so I did that. I'm sorry that you were hurt.
Like, how would you move forward through that?
Yeah, I mean, if you took accountability in that sense and said, yeah, I'm sorry you're hurt. I did that.
Yeah, well, then it would require action and like you actually changing who you are as a person and how you're operating and existing within the world.
Oh, okay, so you want to change the fiber of the being.
Not I don't know necessarily what you mean by that, but like what I'm saying is if you cheated, I would want you to fully understand what motivated you to actually do that and then love me through whatever pain that I caused you. You know what I mean? Like kind of like help each other.
What about cheating? Is it that grinds your gears?
What is it about cheating that grinds my gears? Just like in general, like that people cheat?
Yeah. No, when it comes to men.
Honestly, like I have a really weird perspective on it. I honestly think people that choose to cheat just have a like massive lack of self-love. You know what I mean? And I think that they are not acknowledging some pain that they've had from their past and they're acting out sexually from that. Like they're getting the outside validation, or maybe they are feeling safe within the relationship that they're in, but safety never really felt safe to them. And what feels safe is actually chaos. So they like intentionally.
I'm not sure if you're answering the question though. So what I'm asking is what about the act itself bothers you?
About the act itself of cheating?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, it's disrespectful. You know what I mean? It's
Why?
inconsiderate. Well, because why? Why is cheating inconsiderate?
Why is stealing illegal?
Yeah.
Hang on, Monique. We'll come back to you in a second.
Bad?
We're going to come back to you in a second. You're going to get your chance.
I'm not triggered.
So what about the act of cheating bothers me? Yeah. It's because you didn't consider the other person when you, because if you have a relationship and you both agree, hey, we're not going to sleep with other people, and then it's
so it's the lying then.
The deceit hurts.
Okay, so it's the lying that's the problem. It's not the act itself.
I mean, yeah, like I think for some people, like the act itself could be hurtful because now they're having like images in their head and that they love this person. And now every time that they go to have sex with this person, they feel like the intimacy is broken because all they can think about is him or her having sex with somebody else.
Is it the sex or is it the affection for somebody else?
It's got to be the intimacy, because when you
the intimacy,
the
closeness, the love.
You loop, and when you have sex with somebody else, you break that loop. You have to
Yeah.
understand the energetic cords that you tie to one another when you engage with somebody like that.
No, I hear what you're saying, but I mean, what I notice most often when I have these conversations is a lot of the times, you know, women will use the lens in which they view the example from their own view. And usually if you ask, see, because men and women ask different questions when it comes to this topic, right? Like a man will ask his woman if he finds out that she stepped out, did you fuck him? That's the biggest concern for him. Whereas a woman will ask a man, well, did you love her?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the
And,
motivation behind the action is different for both men
yeah.
and women.
And that even
Right. So,
goes into like relationships like gay and lesbian relationships as well. You see the same thing where it's even in gay relationships, the guys will still ask, did you fuck him? It's
Mm.
still,
Well, I
it's,
think it's because the man likes to be that dominating force, the conqueror. And when their woman cheats, or maybe their guy cheats on them, it feels like they've conquered nothing at all. You know, like it kind of destroys their manhood in a way.
no,
No?
it's, you know, I get what you're saying, but really the main concern for men is the issue of paternity, because women have 100% assurance of paternity if they're pregnant, and that's what their concern is. That's why the notion of chastity has always been so valuable throughout history in marriages and to men, is because they know for certain that because she hasn't been with any other man, that if she has a child, then it's his child, right? So that's the big concern that men have, and that's why they're more concerned with, did you fuck it? Whereas with women, it's a loss of provisioning and resources. So you don't want to lose the house, the food, the shelter, you know, the protection, because if another woman captures his heart, the chances of her stealing him away, that becomes a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's however you want to view it. Like,
Are
I
we
don't know
talking
what it
about
feels like
medieval
to be a
times
man,
right
so
now?
it's whatever your perspective is.
Sorry, are we talking about
Medieval
medieval?
times, or
No,
is this like
no,
2025 where
today.
you get half?
no, we're talking about the way things are today. You don't think
Okay.
that they're that way today?
What way?
She said
The,
in 2025 where you get half of it.
hmm, isn't that the
Well,
way that things are operating today?
I don't know. While you were just explaining that, I was picturing like a queen, like in a castle, like, oh no, this mistress is gonna take half my stuff. Like, no, she's not.
Do you think that we've evolved that much since medieval times?
Biologically, no. Socially, yes. Financially,
Socially,
yes.
have we though?
Weren't you the one who just brought up the topic about accessibility and like online dating and instant
No, that wasn't me.
gratification?
No,
Oh,
that was you guys that were,
so
you know, talking about
oh,
that
okay.
with there being too many options.
So yeah, they didn't have Tinder back in medieval times. So yes, I think socially we've changed quite a
Right, but I
bit.
mean, the same concerns would have existed in medieval times as well, too, right? Like a woman back then, she would want
Don't
to make
nobody
sure
want
that
to
the
be
guy that
cheated
she's
on. I
committed to.
don't care what year it is. I don't care if it's 500 AD or 3085. Don't nobody want to be cheated on. Like that's never
Okay, so why do we
ever
do it then?
been. Why does who do it? Why do men do it or why do you do it? I don't cheat.
Are you a virgin?
I'm not a virgin, but I've never cheated.
Well, you've slept with other men prior to the guy that you're with right now, which tells me that you're not monogamous, because monogamy, as it's defined in the animal kingdom, is being with the same partner that you're with when you consummate the first baby, egg, whatever.
Is this what you believe, or what is like what? Why are you saying that?
Where the hell are you getting this definition from?
Is
Can
some
you send?
Well,
I'm gonna
well, I
need
mean,
a resource, and it's gonna have to be cited for me. I'm sorry, I need a resource from
it,
that.
it, it's someone that's been in the adult entertainment industry
I'm
for
not
10 years.
kidding. Put it in the chat. I want to see where that came from because that's
yeah, I'm working
crazy.
on my
Uh,
phone. I don't think it's going to be possible tonight. Sorry, I'm not able to meet that demand there.
Alina, what were you going to say?
Um, yeah, go ahead.
As someone who is a professional adult entertainer, I can give you a running list of why men choose infidelity.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Variety. I mean, first
Yeah.
off, men want variety.
Hmm.
They have their family and they want to keep them together, but there are certain things they can't ask their wife to do.
Or they stop doing,
Yeah. Health. Their wife might be in poor health and not able to perform like certain acts. It could be like their health as well. They're embarrassed. They have weird kinks or fetishes that they want to try. I know there's other. That's off the top of my head.
there's literally hundreds and thousands of reasons. There's even a book that was written by evolutionary psychologists called Why Women Have Sex, which kind of dives down the rabbit hole why women do it and why they step out and everything.
I think the
sort of around
number
the
was
ecosystem.
256 reasons or something like that, which implies there's infinite. There is endless reasons.
I think that the big difference between men and women that is often overlooked or forgotten or dismissed is that we prioritize different things. I think men prioritize availability and women generally prioritize the best that they can get. And I think when women have the best they can get, most other men tend to look invisible to them. Yeah? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So back to the question before we kind of go
Sorry,
into a
I'm
circle
gonna.
here.
We have another
Go
guest
ahead,
here. I'm gonna
Spencer.
pull on Rich.
Go ahead.
Bianca here.
Hi, Bianca.
Bianca, how are you doing?
Hello, guys. How are you?
Wow, that's
Apologize
a
for
hat.
the what? Yeah, it's hot.
I said, wow, that's a hat. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's a hot. I had a field trip today, and I didn't arrive home yet. I'm just still working, but
Okay,
I
welcome.
was paying attention to the conversation that you guys had, and I agree with a lot of beliefs. That Maranda has, Maranda and Monique. I agree with them. I wanted just to say
Okay.
something, but I saw that I'm
What are your
not
thoughts? Do you have something to add on that?
about this change of society in this time. That yes, for sure, I think women they became a little bit more in charge of everything than men. But also communication is very important because I think communication is the key. I think most of us we start the relationships in a toxic way. I can tell about um, my relationship that I have it now. We started very affected by others and maybe hurting each other by being hurt before, but by communicating, we achieve like a trust in I don't know, a bond that I wasn't expecting. To be honest, I wasn't
So
expecting that.
let me ask you this question, Bianca, because I hear this whole, everything boils down to communication,
You know,
communication.
it is. It's actually, of course, it's also like Monique or Miranda said. It was about accountability because I've been before my husband that I have it now, my fiance. I've been with a guy for years, and he was never taking accountability for nothing, like really nothing. Even if I have everything black on white, he will say no. That is a very that is something very difficult that you cannot go forward in any relationship. You cannot build something when someone doesn't even recognize when it's wrong.
That's
Comparing with what I have now, yes, he did. My fiance, he did mistakes in the beginning. He did, but after he say, "I fucked it up. I want to be better." And that changed everything because after we were talking and trying to figure out why you did that, what I did to you, what is coming this way, and we with time we understood that this guy from someone else from before, and we are still having the fears from other relationships and our own issues, of course, our own, because everybody's having their own issues, right? I'm not going to say, oh, I'm perfect and I'm not, because that would be ridiculous. I'm not that kind of person. But
where are you from, Bianca? You're
I'm from
you're in Spain
Romania.
or
No, Romania.
Romania?
I'm in
Okay.
Miami now, in Florida. I
Oh, I
live
see.
in Florida. Mm-hmm.
And your fiance is also
In New
Romanian or
York.
is he American?
New York. No, he's New
New
York.
York? He's
Yes.
American. Okay. Gotcha.
Yes.
I wanted to go back to the question about times changing and is it for the better or is it for the worse? I don't think, was it Elena that didn't answer that one yet?
I mean, change, but I see around me, I'm analyzing what's happening around me, and I see that the
Well,
time is
okay, so
changing.
why don't we
The
do
thing
this then,
is that,
Bianca? Since we've already got you on, so you're from Romania, very Christian country, Christian Orthodox,
yes, yes,
typically,
with rules.
traditional. Do you think
Yes,
that times have changed for the better today, or have they changed for the worse
no, no.
when it comes
For
to long-term relationships, dating, that kind of stuff?
change, no, it changing worse. It's not what I wanted to live, but that
What's
means that
worse
you have
about
to.
the dating today?
Well, dating. I don't. First of all, guys and men they start having the very superficial attitude and impression about women, and they actually try and actually treat a lot of women with a lot of like superficiality, like very superficial, like they
In
okay,
what
they take
sense?
you
Can you be
one,
specific?
like they don't appreciate the beauty anymore. They don't, most of them. I'm not talking about my
What do you
fiance.
mean they
This
don't
is
appreciate the beauty?
appreciate, like for example, bring a flower with to a woman without a reason, just because she is
Bringing
bringing
flowers?
you. Yes, why not? Just a, an intention of bringing a smile on someone's face. Trust me, means more than
Romance.
anything.
Romance.
So romance and see,
It's not
that's one of the
even romance.
struggles that
It's not even romance. It's just to
okay, hear me out for a
give
sec. I
some
think I understand what you're
attention,
saying.
to appreciate.
Gotcha.
No, that doesn't
Gotcha.
exist
Gotcha.
these days.
There's a
Mm.
lot of guys out there who I
Uh,
think are giving you attention just because of attractiveness. I'm sure there's a lot of guys in your
But they're
comments
probably
or
invisible to you.
sliding in your DMs, sending you fire emojis and heart eye
and I don't
emojis.
have time for that story. No, no, I don't
Right,
have time
because
for
those
this.
guys are invisible to you. So what you're saying when you say that is you want the romance, you want the flowers from the guys that you already like. But I think that what a lot of guys have learned at this point in time
No,
in
I
this
have it
modern,
now.
society.
It's not about
No,
that I want something. I have it. It's about what I experienced before. And I've
yeah,
seen
I got you.
guys,
I
someone
got you.
inviting you out and not even asking you, hey, would you need a Uber or car? Like, what I want to go and see a stranger and, sorry, spend my own money, when you have to be the gentleman, at least, make a minimum effort
I mean,
of
there's
being
lot.
the man, you know what I mean? Like, excuse
I
me,
mean,
we
there's a
don't want
lot to
$20. It's not
unpack
about that
there.
I don't have $20. It's about that I don't want to go, like, and I don't know, dressed of two thousand
Okay,
dollar
okay.
clothes, put makeup, and do all these things, and someone doesn't even want, like, I don't know, pay a cocktail. Like, that is a little bit, sorry. I'm not going to,
Yeah, so what you're
like,
asking for is a
respectfully. I'm not
traditional
going to say
man, is
no.
that right?
I think that was the best time when the man was the man and the woman was the woman. You
Sure,
know?
but you're asking for a traditional man that would do the traditional
Yes.
sorts of things and the
Yes.
romance and the flowers and all that sort of stuff. And I think that, men had done that for a number of years. And what they
And what?
figured
It
out
didn't
is that,
work?
what they figured out is that women don't generally respond positively to that. I think that men would love women to respond positively to flowers and romance and dinners and kindness and all that sort of stuff, but they don't respond positively to that.
Can I interject here?
Yeah, hop in.
Please.
Women want that traditional type romance and those traditional type roles without fulfilling being the traditional woman themselves.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the point that I was going to get to is that women want traditional men, but they're not traditional women themselves. They want to be with a giant that's romantic and going to buy them flowers
Be
on holidays and anniversaries, but they used to get traditional women when they did that. They used to get, like an agreeable
the
virgin
traditional
on
woman.
their marriage day. Now they don't get that anymore.
Traditional woman, I don't know about others. Pretty
But
traditional.
Well,
I
you're
mean,
asking, well, Bianca,
adapting
like, let's be
myself.
honest here. You're asking for a traditional man to do traditional things, but that would require that you be a traditional woman yourself. You have culinary skills. You're a pure virgin. You don't bring any baggage to the table. Like, this is what a traditional man would
That
look for
that is
to
not
commit to a woman
happening.
like that. Of course, it's not
We
happening. So
go we
why,
going in
so
extreme.
why
We
should
go
you
in
expect that
extreme.
from men then?
We going in
How is that an
extreme.
extreme?
It's extreme because let's be
That's
honest.
not extreme.
Who's virgin today? Come on.
What do you think is
They
more
want-
realistic?
They want him to be, you want him to be a feminist,
But of course, I'm not a
also
feminist.
hyper.
I'm not a
but you want
feminist.
masculine.
Rich, do you own goats?
Do I
have
own
a
what?
bunch
Sorry.
Do you have goats?
No. Why would I have that?
Do you have
What means that?
goats and land to provide to a virgin's father or your next girlfriend? Like when it's time to consummate marriage and take someone's virginity, do you have a bunch of goats and land to offer?
I don't think he
I
has.
could certainly offer that. Yeah.
So good
That's
for
not
you. I
difficult to
wish
do
you.
for me. I got
I
lots of
wish
money.
you bless.
He's got the money to do it.
Amazing, amazing. That is something to appreciate.
But I mean,
Wait a minute. I mean, I hope you got your
ladies have
money
to
or whatever.
understand that you're asking for traditional values from guys that have gotten to the
But
point
what
where
means
it's like, well, why would I invest in
take
that?
it that way? What means a traditional woman for you? Just to be virgin? Because
Well,
that
that's
is
one of the
not going
most
to
important
happen.
things
I don't even
for
think
a
you find a
guy at
13
marriage.
or a
Should
14.
we
I don't even
include
think you
that?
find a 13 or a 14 virgin in these times.
Why are you getting so upset at that, Bianca?
I'm not upset. I'm just trying to explain a traditional woman doesn't mean just someone that is virgin. It
Well,
can be someone that is
you're making
respectful,
demands. You're
taking
making
care
demands
of
for
her
women,
husband.
but you're unwilling to provide what men value. You're saying women
So
value
how you
romance,
know that
women
I am
will value
unable to
flowers,
provide
but you don't care
something?
what men value?
Excuse me?
But you don't care what men value?
What men value? So I
I
know what
think
men
Rich
value because
I
my
think
my
Rich is
my
talking
husband is
about a
telling me
group
what
of
he value about myself.
One at a time, please, ladies. One at a
They
time.
value a man, in my opinion, what I heard from my man is like he's appreciating and value the peace that I gave him, the stability, the fact that he's coming in a beautiful house that I'm taking care of, like it's our temple, like you feel peace there. You come in that house and you leave all the problems at the door and you feel peace, you feel safe, you feel home. That I think is a traditional woman that can offer something today. It's not about who's virgin and who's not virgin or how many guys you fuck with. That's not about that. That
Yeah.
is so superficial. It's
So
my man is
no.
telling me,
Stop,
Virginity is
stop,
my
stop,
very
man is
stop,
telling
stop,
We're
me,
stop,
not
stop, stop,
17
stop,
years old.
stop,
We're not
stop,
17. People got
stop,
married when they were
stop,
15. Like nobody's a
stop.
virgin at 36 years old.
Okay, so why is it that ladies today are making all of these traditional demands of men, but they're unwilling or unable to provide what men value?
How can you undo having sex?
How are you speaking
Cool.
on what
Let's say-
all of men value? The only thing you've mentioned that you think is a value is a virginity. So do you prefer a
yes,
17-year-old or a
So-
that's my
36-year-old?
point.
Because the only
That's
thing
my-
you've mentioned is virginity. So what do you
That's my
value
Okay, so-
about women besides her being a virgin?
Well, you
What do
tell
you
me,
value about
Monique.
women besides virginity? How old are you? How many women your age are virgins? How many
So,
women your age are
Monique?
virgins? So if you're talking about selling goats to go get a 17-year-old, then we're on
All
the
right.
same page. But we're
Are we
all
going to
30
go full
something.
retard here, or are we going to have a real conversation?
I've got a master's degree, and I see a couple retards
Great.
in here, and I ain't one of them.
How many guys have looked at your master's degree, Monique, and said, "Oh, that's hot. I love that degree, framed in mahogany with little letters after your name. That's sexy." How many guys?
You know what? I don't
actually
care
do.
about what other guys think.
None.
My
So how many
fiance
guys?
knows
So how many guys, when they
I
look
care
at you
about
in a
what the
bathing
guy who
suit,
put this
look at the
ring
beauty?
on my finger thinks. That's
Okay.
who I care about, what he
That's
thinks.
my
This guy
man.
who
So, okay. Now I want to see your
Okay, we're
ring.
just going to
I'm
mute her
sorry,
because she won't
guys.
stop talking. And we're going to mute Bianca as well because I'm going to get my word in here because getting interrupted gets really frustrating. So let's go back to the top here. Are you ready, ladies? Are you ready, audience? We're making demands for things of men. And then we're running off the track saying, "Oh, well, I can't provide that, or I don't want to provide that, or it's not necessary for me to provide that." Why is it today that things that are important to men don't matter anymore? Like, what is it that women bring to the table that's valuable to men, right? Maybe we should start with that.
What makes a woman not a virgin? A man having
Okay,
sex.
let's maybe even
let's
like
answer the question
to not get hung
and
up on
deal
the
with
virgin
what
word.
makes women valuable to men.
What makes women valuable to men?
Companionship.
I can't know that because I'm not a man.
Well, I mean, like women often will say, I bring a lot to the table, right? So what is it that women are bringing to the table? What is it that they're offering men today?
Companionship, the ability to be a householder, raise children and reproduce, and instill
Mhm.
good values.
Yeah, like our energy, our grounding energy, our ability to literally de-stress you as soon as you walk through the door by doing things for you, maintaining the home. If you go and you work 12 hours a day, guess what I'm doing at home? I'm cleaning.
That's useful, yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. That's definitely useful, adding some value to a man's life. Yeah. What else?
Yeah,
Doing things
that's
that make his
exactly
life
it.
easier.
That's exactly it. Doing everything that I possibly can to support his growth, because his growth, guess what, benefits me at the end of the day too. And when I support him, he supports me, and it's a give and back. It's like a back and forth scenario. It's not just a you give me all your money and then I, go and take your credit card and go shopping all day long, and then when you come home, the house is a wreck. I get that. I get that frustration point in the dating scene right now, because there's a lot of women that are doing that, and that's disgusting. And that's deplorable. I don't agree with that whatsoever. But what I do think is that there's a lot of men also that are in this red pill community that treat women with zero respect, and they have all of these expectations for them to do it without creating any emotional safety or really any financial security. Like, they kind of have a job, but not really. Like, they're not really pulling, like, they're not really they don't have to be a millionaire, right? But like, they're not really creating the safety that they are seeking, and sometimes it's an intangible thing.
It's the male version of
So,
what we just talked about, where like a woman's demanding a traditional man but doesn't have traditional values. You're saying that there's a lot of men out there who they're not bringing the traditional things that a man brings, the like ability to provide. He's actually just a fat guy who doesn't make a lot of money, and maybe he's living in his mom's basement, but he still wants you to be a virgin and not talk to any other dudes.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we are so focused on what the other person is doing for us or not doing for us, instead of thinking about what can we do for this other person. You know what I mean? Like, and that's where I think relationships fail. Is like we stopped wanting to actually love that person and show that love through action and affirmations. We don't really do that, but we just have these like background expectations for the other person, and then one day when we're not doing anything for each other, we just fall out of love. And really, it's just a lack of communication and a lack of effort.
well, Miranda's a lot closer to reality than what Monique was. She just wanted to go a million miles an hour and talk about her degree.
Well,
So
Monique's back.
at least, at least we've gotten somewhere with that. So thank you for some clarity there. What's that?
Said, well, Monique's back.
Oh, does she want to talk and have a real conversation, or is she going to keep talking over us? You can bring it in if you like.
Yeah, she's in
I'm
now.
here.
There we go. Are you ready to have a conversation, Minnie?
Sorry, I had some technical difficulties.
Oh, that's awful. I hate it when that happens.
Same.
What other hot topics did we have that were collected before the show, Spencer?
I mean, we kind of went over one of them naturally, was about like the differences between men and women, how they're not equal. Well, and then the other one was difference between femininity and feminism nowadays.
Femininity and feminism. And okay, and who brought
Yeah,
that one up?
that was Miranda. So it was about kind of the idea of like femininity of like what can, well, I mean, she can explain more, but the femininity of,
Was it a grievance on the topic, or was it something that you wanted to explain or talk about?
It was more of like, he said, like, a controversial thing that I believe in that maybe other people don't, is that I
Okay.
believe in being feminine, not feminism. I think
there
feminism
it
is
is.
actually very masculine.
It is. It turns women into terrible versions of men,
Yeah, and
is
like
what usually ends up
there's a
happening.
reason why I was attracting,
Mhm.
very, not necessarily beta men, but like men that were not necessarily like healthy masculine men, because I was playing that masculine role. Like I said, I was in the Marine Corps, and then I started boss babying, building my business right out of that. So like I was obviously not transmitting that feminine energy. I found a way to be able to do both eventually, because like it's the way that you talk to the man, right? It's making him feel like he is also needed. You can't be doing this, oh, I'm independent, I don't need you kind of crap, because they're going to drop you like it's hot. Like, I'm sorry, but there's no desire for him to care for you when you're coming off in that way. Like two masculines are not going to mesh together. There has to be a balance.
You said you found a way to do both, to turn that masculine energy off when you come back to the home. Can you elaborate more on how you do that?
Yeah, it's a softening, right? So instead of me talking about like all of the things, the stressful things that happened to me at work, and then like coming at it like in a very like aggressive way, I just I don't talk about those things at all, or I come across in a more feminine way. Like, yeah, this happened to me today. I'm not screaming. I'm not doing all this crazy stuff. Like I just used to be very aggressive before, and I've just toned myself down a lot in just the way that I talk to my person, and I still manage to, do the things that he wants me to do. You know what I mean? Like having the
What was
dinner.
the epiphany that brought you to the point to realize that behavior, that mindset doesn't really work in relationships?
Spending time learning about actually being feminine, you know what I mean, and what that means and what that looks like through your actions and how you speak and how you move. I just took a while because I used to be kind of brolic in a way, because I was a motor team mechanic working on diesel trucks when I was in the Marine Corps, and it changes your identity in a way that is not so feminine, obviously. So I had to relearn a lot of things and basically take on a different identity, which was more feminine.
So you went from a diesel mechanic in the military to stay-at-home Missy?
Stay at home what?
Missy, health coach, was it?
Yeah,
Health coach, yeah.
I'm a health coach, and I have another business. It's a psychedelic mushroom company. It's illegal.
Oh, okay. Excellent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hero's Trip is something that I recommend for everybody at some point in their life.
Everybody, yeah. It's very healing.
If I have a
Monique,
question,
you're back. Go ahead,
Miranda,
Spencer.
if your daughter was making the decision on what she wanted to do career-wise, and she wanted to go down that route of like getting into military or something that is very masculine, what advice would you give her? Would you tell her that she should do it or shouldn't?
I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. I mean, it subjected me to a lot of emotional and physical abuse when I was there, and I had to do a lot of healing coming out of that. And, like I said, kind of like redeveloping my identity because I lost a lot of myself. But I don't think I would subject my daughter to the way that I grew up in my childhood. And that was the main reason why I wanted to join the military anyway. Like I wanted an escape and like basically like kind of recreate my entire character. But I would say to her, like, I still support you in whatever decision you want to make, but this was my experience. And this is the reason why I wanted to join the military. I want to understand fully why she wants to join, like what the real reason behind that desire is, and then just give her some guidance there. But I'm never going to not support my child in what they want to do, because I know how it felt when I went to my dad and I said, I want to be an artist or I want to be an athlete. And he completely just shut me down and made me feel like I was an idiot for even thinking that.
Yeah. So maybe not like totally shut it down so that way they don't rebel against it. But
yeah,
your advice wouldn't be to guide her down that path.
No, I wouldn't even give her advice. I would just literally tell her what my experience was and why I chose to join, and then let her make the decision. Because when you try to make your child's decision for them, that's when they rebel against you, and that's when they start acting out in really shitty ways as an adult.
Show them the results of it and then why this might not be the best choice, and then let them decide.
Exactly. You always let them decide no matter what it is.
Do you think that there's an amount of feminism in all women?
Do I think there's what?
A amount of feminism in all women?
Well, of course. That is our natural state, I believe.
Isn't femininity more natural, though?
I think femininity is most natural, but I think a lot of us go through a lot of trauma that we don't ever, heal from. And that's what ends up turning us masculine. And then society's pressures, the feminism movement, we think, oh, we do all this cool stuff because we can. And, it distorts your reality and your perception.
So it's net negative for women.
You cut out. I'm so sorry.
Sorry, is it a net negative for women?
What do you mean by that, net negative?
Feminism in general, because it looks like it's gone to a place of a supremacy movement rather than a place of equality. I think women have equality for a long time. There's pretty much nothing that you know, men and women can't do the same. I mean, we're physically slightly different, obviously, but
Yeah.
I mean, some people would even argue that feminism and women today have a strong advantage in the world. You know, we're seeing advantage in the court system. Women are given shorter and lighter sentences for the exact same crime. You know, we have this Me Too movement that's been, you know, a recent phenomenon in the last couple decades where, you know, women are pointing the finger at men without any kind of evidence for something that might have happened 20 years ago.
Hmm.
Family courts strongly favor mothers over fathers today. Um,
Yeah,
is it a
I
net
agree with
negative?
you there. I don't think that we have any leg up on anything. If not, in some areas we do, and I'm sure men have a leg up in other areas. Like the whole argument with the glass ceiling, you know, how women get paid less. Well, you have to look at it instead of just looking at the numbers, you have to look at why. Okay, men are more prone to, you know, fight for a higher rate. You know, women are more timid and more shy, and they don't really speak up and ask for that raise. You know what I mean? They're not as combative. You know, they're a little bit more submissive, and they get shut down a little bit more. If they stuck up for themselves, I think they would probably make just as much, if not more. I think women are highly intelligent and highly capable of doing a lot of the same jobs that men do, but that doesn't mean that we are 100% equal. Like I said, men probably are going to be doing, you know, they're going to perform way better in a construction environment, and women will perform way better in another environment like nursing. You know what I mean? Just do whatever you like are skilled in, number one, and then number two, like perform on your highest values. Like do the things that you actually enjoy doing. Stop wasting your time doing things that don't really matter to you or not aligned with your purpose. That's the problem with today's society. Everybody's just trying to survive and haven't taken a look inward at all, and they're doing things that aren't really like giving them any life. You know, they're not creating anything meaningful.
Hmm. Monique, what do you think about feminism?
I I think it served its purpose, you know, as far as getting equal rights and getting equal pay. But I feel, you know, that anything that's too extreme in one direction or the other, or too radical is toxic. You know, radical feminism is toxic to the traditional family house, nuclear family, and um, you know, it's just you can't toot the horn and want to have your cake and eat it too. You know, if you can't fight for you know, feminism and want a man who's gonna pay your bills. It just doesn't work that way. So I feel like we're kind of in a transient phase sociologically where we're kind of our parents were raised by the traditional nuclear family in the 50s and 60s, but yet, you know, we're in this generation where everyone's been exposed to the internet and everything's accessible and things are changing and there's more access to things and women can go to college and can vote into all these different things. So we're kind of, you know, sociologically in that transient phase where it's just like in our core, biologically, we want that tradition. I think when it comes down to it, like women we want to be feminine. I think we need to be feminine and we crave that, but we also need that safety and we need to feel that we're in an environment to feel that safety. Being a single mom, I spent a lot of years in survival mode. You cannot be in survival mode and be in your feminine, you know? And we've seen statistically over the last couple of decades, the numbers of single mothers is rising, no households with, you know, no fathers and things like that. I mean, all of that, you know, stuff affects the numbers and creates generational ancestral trauma, which is passed down. And you know, I always say that I come from a long line of strong women, but is it strong or is it like toxic? You know what I mean? Like there's a fine line between being strong, a strong woman, and then being like toxic strong, where you push people away and you push men away and you don't allow yourself to feel safe because you've never known what safety feels like. You know, I think a lot of the topics that we've discussed tonight are very multifactorial. I think that there are conditions that apply to every situation and every relationship and every generation. Nothing's black and white. It's never black and white. So, um, you know, at the end of the day, I feel like there is awakening kind of coming. You know, humans are kind of coming into, you know, call it in the 90s, I think they called it like new age, but the metaphysical and the power of like meditation and manifestation. And I feel like women of all different backgrounds are kind of coming into their femininity and realizing that, you know, being the boss bitch and being Miss Independent isn't going to get you the man that's going to make you feel safe.
Yeah.
You ever
You said
find
a
that
really good point
exhausting?
there.
I'm sorry.
You ever find that exhausting being the boss bitch?
Are you asking me personally?
Yeah.
What are you implying that I'm a boss bitch?
You don't think you are?
That wasn't the question. Are you implying that I'm a boss bitch?
Well, you're a tough lady.
I'm fiercely independent, but I also know when to be soft. So there's a difference. The answer to your question is no, it's not exhausting. You have to know when to wear the hat and when to take it off.
Can you be wearing the hat sometimes and taking it off? Like, is it possible? Like, it's almost like asking, I would imagine asking a guy to be soft and tender and
With the
not
right woman,
masculine.
yes. And with the right man, yes. It is possible.
Yeah, but when you gals say that, you're saying that that's what you want, yes, but that's not
You're
what you respond
generalizing my
positively to.
statement.
I am. And I just explained why, because often, women will ask for certain things of men, but when they get them, they find that they are not attracted to those things. Like they'll tell guys to
What's an
be
example?
understanding or to be, to be more vulnerable, for example.
Hmm.
And that doesn't turn women on. That doesn't keep women around. They don't want,
That doesn't turn the right woman on.
no, it doesn't turn women on in general.
No, you're wrong. I
No.
love understanding. I love communication. I love when my man listens. I love when he understands. And
You
here's the
want
other
your
thing.
guy to come home and complain about his day and his boss and his coworkers and the Becky in HR and tell you what a mean person the vice president was in today in the meeting, or do you want him to figure it out?
Can I say something, Rich, without
Go
getting
ahead.
interrupted? This is also very controversial. And I'm going to stick up for men for a second. And I'm going to say that also, you know, women have changed, but so have men. Men went through a phase and decades where they were emotionally suppressed, and men were not allowed to cry. They were frowned upon. Men are allowed to be sensitive. First of all, men have the same feelings that we do. They have the same fears that we do. You know what I mean? They express it differently. But I feel like when a man feels emotionally safe with a woman, just like a woman feels safe with a man, they can be in their essence and they can be in their power and they can be emotional and they can listen and they can be in tune. You know, kind of what you're speaking on is just like some superficial, egotistical, driven relationship where it's like the man is like overly masculine and dominating the situation, and the woman is just like laying on her back. It's a yin and a yang, it's a give and a take. You know what I mean? Both people have to feel emotionally safe in the relationship for it to thrive. It doesn't matter how money or
No, I don't.
material.
No, I don't think that men need to feel emotionally safe. I think women do.
I
I think
think
that
it's
men
Yeah,
need
like
to feel respected. I think that men need to see that she's
women need
a
to feel
compliment to
respected
his life.
as well.
yeah. We don't have the
Not in the way that
same
men do.
fears too. It's like we have different needs, we have different fears. Like we just talked earlier about what men and women ask when after finding out the person they're with cheated. It's like, did you sleep with him or did you fuck him? Or sorry, did you fuck him or like do you love him? Like that difference. Men have different fears than women and different needs than women.
I think
Yeah.
people are just different. All people are different. I don't think it's a, you know.
Yeah, there's a lot of nuance, right? Like you have to kind of look at it like on a case by case basis. I think when we put a lot of this group think and a lot of these what do you want to call it? Like these labels on everybody. And we say, like, we pit men against women, and like, you can't group everybody together. It's like saying that all Republicans are these hyper Christian psychopaths that don't want you to abort your baby. And like, that's not true. It's like, there's a spectrum, there's gray areas, right? It's not so
Black and white.
with any of it.
But at the same time, like, yes, there's nuance, but you can look at the broader picture. You can do studies. There's been studies that have been done, especially by like the Dr. David Buss lab is one of my favorites to refer to, that have looked at like cultures across the world and see the same trends, that men like the same things in women and women like the same things in men, but they're different between men and women. So we can say that, like, we can make a group and say that men generally like these things, or men prefer these things and women prefer these things. We can group these things separately.
Okay, yeah.
I've never pictured a woman waking up in the morning saying, "I just want like an emotionally vulnerable, emotionally available man today." That's not what women desire. Women
Well,
desire
it's a good thing you're not a
confident
woman,
winner.
because you don't think like us.
I think
No, it's a really good thing
a
I'm not
leader, and I
a
think
woman.
a lot
You're
of
right.
men these days are not leaders, and they're
But I
expecting
think that I'm
women to
closer to
lead
the
us
truth than
into
you are.
this place, and that's not the case. Like, I'm sorry, but for a woman to
What's your
actually be
truth?
feminine, the man has to be the leader and set that tone. Okay?
Correct. Yeah.
We're responsive.
Yes.
You guys are like literally the motherfucker that says this is how it's gonna be. And
You
then
know who said it best? You know who said it best? I think it was Jay Waller. He said something along the lines of that, you know, men must be the rocks that the waves crash upon. Right? So I think the notion that men need to be softer and more vulnerable and emotionally available, all those sorts of things,
Yep.
I don't buy it. I think that's a lot of like modern gobbledygook that a lot of cultures and modern, you know, progressives sell today.
I think it was
Yeah,
for
like,
sure. I agree with you there. I don't think men should be softer, so to speak, but I think men
Yeah.
should be willing to look within themselves and take accountability for the things that they are doing that maybe they are unconscious about. That's what we mean when they need to be softer and more vulnerable. Like being okay with talking, not talking to me, but someone, so that you can go and heal your own toxic shit. Because I'm sorry, but there's a lot of men that are doing a lot of like distasteful things. It's on both sides. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can talk about that if you want. I mean, a lot of the times that guys do things that women don't like, that they call distasteful or toxic, are usually just men that aren't really that interested in that woman. I think at the end of the day, that if a woman finds a way to embed herself into his life, find ways to be useful in his life and be a complement to his life, and be respectful, of course, he's going to have a hard time wanting to walk away from that woman.
100%. Yeah. If that woman truly brings him peace and does the things, you know, like that a woman should know how to do. I'm sorry, I'm a believer in that. Like, if you're a woman, you should know how to cook. Like, it's such a basic skill. You can get on YouTube and learn how to do it. Follow a recipe off of Google. It's not hard. You're just not putting.
But I think something like only a third of women can like have any reasonable culinary skills. I think the vast majority of them are far better at ordering Uber Eats, or, you know, heating up a TV dinner or something that's a lot simpler, and they don't want to learn, you know, the skill of cooking.
There's a lot
Rich,
of
you
like
need an
that.
Italian woman.
Yeah.
Do I?
I said you need an Italian woman. That's
Okay.
bullshit.
How do you know I don't have one?
I don't know anything about you. First of all, you, Spencer and Rich, you guys didn't share your age or your relationship status, and we had to share all that. So,
That's why the show's called Ladies Night.
oh, because it don't
I've
feel like
got
it.
I've got
It's like
1,600
ladies
videos. You can
roast.
go watch a whole bunch of them.
It
Dude.
feels
No,
like
we're
ladies
not.
roast.
Monique, I'm really not here to roast anybody. Trust me, I got a lot better things to do with my time. It's just that, you know, when you start barking at me and like marching on about your degree and acting like a fool, I'm going to call you out on it. And that's just the way it is.
Well, when you're a misogynist, I'm going to defend myself and come back with an argument. I'm sorry.
Can you define misogyny?
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'll wait.
Richcooper.ca.
Oh, that's such a great explanation. Just exactly what I was expecting.
How is he a misogynist?
I'm keeping it light. I'm keeping it light. We don't, let's not get dark and ugly here. We don't need to have
Well,
arguments and
often women will
disagreements.
point at a man and say he's a misogynist, but they can't define misogyny. So can you define misogyny with your degree on the wall?
My degree is in medicine, not sociology, but my
Well, you're so
definition, the way
smart.
that
So what
you
is it?
felt that, the reason I felt that is because, as I said earlier, you can be too radical or too extreme in one way or the other, in black and white. And the way that you passionately discussed um, how it was a tradition for a woman to be a virgin, I felt that, in our current times, with our current ages, that something like that is very irrelevant and not really reflective of, um, you know, our societal and traditional values in the last like 500 years.
Is that
So
So,
specifically because he used the word virgin? What if it was phrased as just lower body count?
so I
that's
guess
not
the
the same
question I have
thing,
is
but
is
that's
is
still
why do
important.
people and
It's
you,
important.
Monique, get so upset when men state that they have a preference for a woman without a promiscuous past? Like, why is that so difficult for women to accept?
I don't think it's difficult, and I'm gonna just tell
Well,
you
you
right now.
called me a misogynist as a result of it.
Well, because I felt that you were overly forceful on the issue and overly
No, we
passionate
had the
about
other girl,
the
Bianca. I
issue.
think she was talking about traditional values and men being traditional in certain senses and regards. And I said to her, well, men would then expect women to be traditional in the sense that
Yeah,
they bring to the table what men value.
understandably so, but not all men share your values, and not all women share our values. Hence
Well,
why
the
we're
vast
here
majority of men do,
today.
actually. The vast majority of men do prefer a woman without a
So
promiscuous past. There's been no man in history, Monique, that's thought to themselves, gee, I wish my wife had fucked 50 more guys before I married her.
let me know when I can answer the question.
Go ahead.
So I feel that people want to feel chosen. They want to feel loved. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what generation, where you come from. You want to feel chosen. You want to feel loved. You want to feel accepted. And you need to have that sense of trust. I mean, the thing that separates us from animals is our emotion. And we have to feel socially accepted. We have to feel wanted. We have to feel needed and loved and all those things. And a big part of that, a big component of that is trust. And you don't want to have someone with a promiscuous past because there is a lack of trust, and the strong foundation and the strong reason behind that is what Miranda said earlier. Somebody who, has a lot of childhood traumas, a lot of, self-respect issues, and somebody who's been very promiscuous in the past is likely to continue that trend, in the future. Now, to argue and disagree with what you said, Rich, you can not be a virgin but also not be promiscuous. And that's the difference that I want to discuss. Just because you're not a virgin doesn't mean you're a whore. It's not black and white. There's a gray area. There are women who are your age, who can cook, who are educated, who are sensitive, who are loving, who are successful, who are good mothers, who are not whores. And they're also not virgins. So I just wanted to differentiate between the two extremes and say that, yes, men want traditional women who are loving, who are, let's use the term loyal, okay? Because I think the term loyal is more important and more prominent than the use of the word virginity because we're all in our late 20s or 30s here. So I feel that loyalty is more important when speaking of like promiscuity and things like that. So everybody wants someone who's loyal, everyone who wants someone who's just going to love them and things like that. And, you know, at the end of the day, I feel like people are going to be where they want to be and nothing's easy. We all come with our trauma, we all come with our issues, we all come with baggage. It's just a matter of being willing to work through that. And when I say I want a man and I appreciate a man who's emotional, I'm not saying I don't appreciate a man. I don't want a man who's going to be crying while I'm falling apart. I want a man who's going to be able to put me in my place when necessary, right? But I also want a man who's going to be able to step back and say, you know what? It's PMS week. My woman's emotional. She's off the tracks. Let me guide her a little bit. Let me be her rock. Let me step in and give her the emotional support and emotional validation that she needs. That's that's where emotionally secure and emotionally intelligent men are successful in relationships with a traditional feminine woman.
Yeah, we're asking for emotional intelligence, not emotionally softness. No softness. That's not what we're asking for. That's not what we're rooting for here.
What's the quick one sentence difference between emotional softness and emotional intelligence?
Emotional softness would be emotional instability. So not being able to manage your own emotions well, being reactive, not knowing how to pause before reacting. And that's exactly what emotional intelligence is understanding that there is a reason behind every action or every, emotion that you're experiencing. There's a reason behind that. To be able to look at it with curiosity and not reactivity, that's emotional intelligence.
It's one of
Moni,
those
can you say
moving
the same thing?
targets, Spencer. It is what I say it is when I say it is at that time, when it's useful, sort of thing. Like that's just the way that it happens to unfold mostly.
I'm with the idea though that like you don't want a man who can't control his emotions, who's gonna feel anger and lash out with that. He starts getting violent just because he's angry, or he starts breaking down and crying because he's upset. Like I am 100% with that. You don't want a man
You don't want
who's
a
like
woman
that.
like that either. I just want to say, just because you're a woman, that doesn't justify that behavior either. Nobody should be acting like that in a relationship, okay? It doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman. You should both have emotional intelligence and both be able to regulate yourself in a healthy relationship. The woman's not allowed to get off on having emotional outbursts just because she's a woman. Like,
You
that's
literally
classic.
had an emotional outburst during the show, though.
Yeah, because you were talking over me as well, and you were rude. You were highly offensive, and I was triggered, and I
What
reacted.
what was it that triggered you?
That's called
So you broke your
accountability.
own rule. So what was it that triggered you exactly?
What rule did I break?
Well, you broke your own rule. You said you're supposed to be able to regulate your emotions, and you had a hissy fit.
You don't think that you raised your voice and got upset and got triggered? You don't think that I offended you? Do you think that you kept your calm the entire time?
I'm a pretty stoic guy, yeah. I
Yeah.
just don't have the patience for nonsense when people speak over me like you were.
Yeah, I don't have the patience for that either. So I guess we have something in common,
I see.
even though we're of the opposite sex.
Spence, we're at 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Do we have anything else on the agenda for tonight?
No, nothing else, so we can wrap it up.
Anything from the ladies before we wrap up? Do you have any questions? Anything you want to state before we go?
No, I guess I just appreciate having me on, and yeah, I thought it was a heated conversation, but it was a decent one.
Yeah. Monique?
It's better than some of the other ones I've seen.
Well, I'm glad you guys had a good time and were able to contribute to the show. I
Thanks for
enjoyed
having
stepping
me.
in for Moff this evening. He'll be back next week. I know he's busy. He's lining up a awesome speaker for our event later on this year. But guys, thanks for watching the show. Ladies, thanks for joining us. Spencer's your guy if you ever want to come back again and chop anything up, any topics you want to talk about. That's why we do these shows to sort
Yeah.
of dive down these rabbit holes and have these conversations. Sometimes they're
Have the
difficult.
conversations that no one else wants to actually have, that society wants to just push off to the side and tell you,
Sugarcoat.
yeah, sugarcoat it all.
There you go. All right, Spencer, you wanna end the show and run the end rail?
Yep. Yeah.
Thanks,
Just pull
ladies.
the
Bye.
pages off here. Just have one quick super chat toss up. Chris, Monique clearly wears the pants in her relationship. Chris, thanks.
Yeah, that was my impression too.
Cool. And okay. Rich, was there anything else you wanted to say at the end?
No, that's it. I know Mock's got a show tomorrow in the calendar, so I'm sure he'll be doing that from Miami. But yeah, that's it, guys.
Yeah. Good show as always. Appreciate you ladies coming on, and just a couple of them are still in the back. Still see it. Yeah, good show. See you guys later.
All right, guys, if you enjoyed that podcast, make sure you visit my website at richcooper.ca to learn more about my courses, my book, The Unplugged Alpha, community, or booking me for private coaching. Also, if you are a Canadian with $15,000 or more of credit card debt and what you are doing right now isn't paying off the balances, then visit totaldebtfreedom.ca and hit get a free quote to see if you qualify to settle your credit card debt for less than you owe today over the next 48 months. Make sure you check out the top pinned comment on YouTube for all the links mentioned during the show. Peace.